Oh, X, you crack me up sometimes. Sweaty never does get old. Let's see what else we got here. Oh, oh, oh! I think my tendies are ready. Boy, do I love my chicken tendies. I can smell them from here. They smell good. I can't wait to chow down on What the fuck is this shit? This isn't my tendies. Ow, it's hot. What is this shit? Sonic.exe? Who would do this? I ask you, buddy, who would replace my tendies with this shit? I'm fucking pissed off now. No, I'm angry. I'm angry. You know, what is this? What is this, huh? What is this? Sonic.exe. Sonic.exe was made at a time when video game creepypastas were still something fresh and generally untapped, and it's a big part of the reason that so many people have made video game pastas of their own. But this pile of shit is no Ben Drowned. This is not even Godzilla NES, okay? This is just pure fucking unfiltered autism in the form of a video game creepypasta. The mere fact that it's about Sonic the Hedgehog, of all things, is proof enough of this. The Sonic's fanbase is known to be one of the most cancerous and autistic fanbases out there, next to, you know, Thomas the Tank Engine, Pokemon, creepypasta reviewers on YouTube. Hey, wait a second! Here's the only evidence you really need of this. Go ahead and type in your first name into Google's image search. Okay, you got that? Now put in the Hedgehog after that and press enter. And see what you end up with. This one's my favorite. But of all the shitty Sonic fan work out there, what makes Sonic.exe so bad? Well, that's what we're looking at today. Number 1. Sonic. I'll admit to never having played a Sonic the Hedgehog game, which isn't too blasphemous sounding, but it means I don't really have grounds to talk about the characters and universe. But that's okay, because for this pasta I really don't need to do that. I don't know what it was, but something about Sonic never really appealed to me as a kid. I think even in my young brain I knew the whole concept of Sonic was trying to manipulate me. The entire character reeks of late 80s and early 90s, whoa, radical dude, always recycle to the extreme pandering. And here's where we get into the first problem. Sonic the Hedgehog is not fucking scary. No matter how much blood you put on him, no matter how fucking realistic that blood is, the image of Sonic the Hedgehog does not strike fear into your heart. It strikes images of...
But if someone tries to touch you in a place or in a way that makes you feel uncomfortable, that's no good.
I can't get off!
What is this?
I can't get off!
What is this? Fingers.
For fuck's sake, it doesn't even invoke images of actual hedgehogs. Those are fucking scarier than this pasta. How do they come out of the mom that spiny? Little babies, how do they do that? That must hurt a lot. Number 2, established media. Pastas based off of established media are something I've only really covered in the Squidward suicide video, but I didn't get too in-depth on the subject because I was still writing this video at the time, and I thought this one would be done first. Whoops. It's the basis for a lot of pastas, especially video games, lost episodes, and those terrible fucking cartoon theories that are all the same. You know the ones. Ash from Pokemon is in a coma since after the first episode. Ed, and Eddie are all in purgatory. The Rugrats are all dead. Bleh. I will invariably have problems with these kinds of pastas, especially if they base themselves on established children's media. It just makes it intensely obvious that the people writing these are children, or at the very least autistic in the case of something like Sonic.exe. Hell, Sonic.exe might be both. It's also a problem if the material, like Sonic, isn't scary in the first place, or rather so unscary that it brings up imagery more likely to make you laugh than anything else. I almost feel like I don't have to explain why these sorts of pastas are trash, but people still seem to keep fucking writing them. They're arguably the most popular kind of pasta, and stories like Sonic.exe and Squidward Suicide being as famous as they are only helps to fuel this. So if this problem with children's media applies to stories about Pokemon, SpongeBob, or in this case Sonic, why does it work with a story about children's media like Candle Cove? You may have guessed it, but it's because Candle Cove isn't an established children's cartoon. You can't flip over to Cartoon Network at 4 p.m. and just happen to catch the screaming episode. The fact that the pasta is putting all the imagery in your head and manipulating your emotions to feel the way it wants you to feel about the media it's creating makes it great. And Sonic.exe doesn't do that. Video game pastas in general don't do that. And number 3, video games in creepypasta. If you look up lists of popular creepypastas on YouTube, you're bound to find at least 1 or 2 video game pastas, and one of those is probably gonna be Sonic.exe. Video games are a surprisingly popular topic to write about. It's so popular that the Creepypasta Wiki has decided to pretty much ban any form of "my video game is haunted" pastas, much like they did with Lost Episodes, and that's the genre that will stick Sonic.exe into. My video game is haunted pastas are generally very samey. This is because the people who make them are inspired, ripping off the people who made the pastas like Sonic.exe and Ben Drowned. Every single fucking story starts and ends the same way. The character obtains the game, usually a popular, well-remembered game from their childhood, via mysterious circumstances. The game cartridge will usually be defaced in some way. Our main character will carelessly pop the game in, only to discover mysterious things happening. Our character will either completely ignore all the weird shit that's going on, or freak out immediately. Neither of these ever go to the logical route of assuming they've picked up some kind of hacked or bootleg copy, with the exception of Godzilla NES. Take a shot for every video game pasta you find that says they thought what they saw was just a glitch. The mysterious things intensify. Usually there's lots of blood or gore. The word hyper-realistic is bound to be thrown around a couple times. Sounds will be made that shouldn't be possible for the type of game being played, and it all culminates in the ending that's either set up for a sequel or the video game killing our main character. So you might be sitting there wondering if there's any good video game pastas out there. Surprisingly, yes. I really liked Pale Luna. It sets itself in a believable era in video games, has a great premise, and is based on a video game that isn't actually real, but very well could have been. It's pretty much analogous to Candle Cove for video game pastas. The ending is a little predictable, and if you're not a fan of dead kids like me, you might not like it, but I was able to look past it this one time, seeing as how it was built up and not just dumped on you for the sake of being scary like in Squidward's Suicide. But I've been putting this off long enough. Let's look at a gaming pasta that is not good by any stretch of the imagination. Number 4, our retarded ass main character. I fucking love this idiot. This guy is so obsessed with Sonic that he gets legitimately upset when he sees the characters in peril in this obviously hacked game. At one point he even mentions that he feels like crying watching the evil Sonic chase after and torment them. It's this really fantastic window in the mind of someone who's so off the fucking deep end autism wise. It's just great. He really cannot disassociate reality from fiction. It just doesn't work that way in his brain. Sonic is real, and that's what makes it so scary for this fucking idiot. It's not the fact that the game he's playing is actually scary, it's the fact that Sonic is acting in a way he isn't supposed to. But that's only scary to this guy because he's autistic enough to act like Sonic the fucking Hedgehog is a real person, and it's impeding on his autistic rituals. Compare this to the main character from Godzilla NES. He is initially under the impression that what he's playing is just a hacked game, and he's actually excited to play it. Upon first being greeted by a horrifying sight, his initial reaction is not like that of the main characters of Sonic.exe or Blood Whistle. He doesn't think it's some paranormal bullshit or the work of the Illuminati. It's just a cool fan-made Godzilla hack with some obscure kaiju and a lean towards horror. He only comes to the conclusion that something is really going wrong when the game starts bringing up personal memories that only he knows. Meanwhile, in Sonic.exe, our main character seems almost offended that someone would even think of making such a game, eventually coming to the conclusion that no mere human could make it. After all, how could they make Sonic kill Tails? They're like the best friends ever. Number 5, let's get the fucking story over with. Our story begins with our main character Tom telling us all about how much he fucking loves Sonic. He even tells us that he was playing Sonic Unleashed the fateful day he played the mysterious glitched game. So that's how you know he's well beyond the point of no return, because nobody likes Sonic Unleashed. He then gets a letter, yes, a handwritten pen and paper letter. Remember those? From a friend. How does Thomas Weston Chandler here have any friends? I don't fucking know. This friend Kyle, let's just call him that, sends Tom a CD and a letter telling Tom to destroy it and not play the game on it. Tom is a fucking idiot and brainlessly shoves the disc into his computer the instant he sees the word Sonic written on it. Once it reveals that it's the first Sonic game, the story completely falls apart because someone this obsessed with Sonic would surely have the first game on hand, at least on an emulator. I'm joking, of course. The story fell apart the instant you read the title. After he pops the game in, he describes an image that pops up for a single frame in enough vivid detail to let you know he's totally full of shit. Here's the quote from the story describing the image. I remember what the image looked like in that split second before the game cut to black. The sky had darkened, the title emblem was rusted and ruined, the Sega 1991 was now instead Sega 666, and the water had turned red, like blood, except it looked hyper-realistic. Oh Christ, good thing I'm not drinking again. But the freakiest thing that was in that split-second frame was Sonic. His eyes were pitch black and bleeding, with 2 glowing red dots staring right at me, and his smile had stretched wider up to the edge of his face. All of that information in a split-second frame. It's not like he paused or rebooted the game at any point. He just knows everything about the picture because he's the author and can't differentiate between total omnipotence and idiocy. He dismisses it as a glitch. Yes, a glitch, because what else would it be? And continues on. Number 6, what's all this shit doing in a fucking Sonic creepypasta? Now we get to the first bit where random shit from other games is just haphazardly cobbled into this hack for no reason whatsoever. So like the save file from Sonic 3 pops up. The background is some shit from Sonic CD? I don't even know what that is. And the music is from Earthbound. He recognizes this is the music from Earthbound despite the fact that it has been slowed down and reversed like something out of Tribe 12. Again, the author not knowing the difference between when to write omnipotence and when to write stupidity. If you don't know shit about the games he's talking about, like me, this will mean nothing to you. If you do, then you run into my earlier problem of having the memories associated with these games being of happy children's video games. Except maybe Earthbound. Once he sees the character select screen with Tails, Knuckles, and Robotnik, he finally realizes that this is not a glitched game, but a hacked game. And as a smart gamer, he knows not to be afraid. This doesn't stop him from being afraid immediately afterwards. He selects Tails because Tails is his furry husbando and Kefka's laugh from Final Fantasy plays. Are you fucking scared yet? Number 7, here we fucking go then. Anyway, he starts up the level only to find that it's all flat ground for 5 straight minutes of walking. Why he doesn't just stop after realizing it's just a shitty ROM hack his friend made to try and scare him is beyond me. In fact, if you look at the story that way, it makes far more sense than anything the main character comes up with. Whatever, so he walks in a straight line for 5 fucking minutes when he starts to come across the mutilated bodies of woodland animals. The author constantly describes Tails' emotional state as if we give a shit about how a fictional character in a hacked game feels. Then we finally see him in all his glory. Sonic just kinda standing around. Ooh. And Tails walks over to him, and the author starts getting this feeling of dread for his husbando. And Sonic opens his eyes to reveal black and red eyes, because those are the only two colors allowed in horror. More shit from other games just keeps fucking popping up, and it doesn't mean anything. He also constantly refers to the music as pixelated, when pixels are not auditory in any way, and it gets irritating. Anyway, Sonic asks to play hide and seek with Tails, and he runs around for a while before Sonic finally starts chasing him. He emphasizes the point that Sonic is flying a lot, as if that's something that's supposed to make us realize something's wrong here. Sonic teleports around a lot like Slenderman, and finally catches and kills Tails. Number 8, and Knuckles. The author is completely shocked that Sonic has done this to Tails. It's very clear at this point that Kyle is playing a prank on him and taking advantage of his emotional connection to Sonic characters, but he doesn't come to that conclusion. Getting over the shock of seeing his husbando killed, he doesn't stop playing the game, and instead picks Knuckles and keeps on trucking. At this point, he's still unsure of what this game even is. He still thinks that it might just be a fucking glitch. Now the fucking Gygus music from Earthbound is playing as Knuckles runs around, also looking afraid and finding blood after a short time running. Are you seeing a fucking pattern here? If you couldn't guess what happens next, Sonic then appears and then says, "Found you?" And that's how it's written in the story. It took the wiki years to take this shit down. Again, he's transported elsewhere, and again, more sounds from different video games play. This time, the screeching of the final boss from Silent Hill. God, can I just fucking stop? I'm not even sure if I'm halfway through. So he tries to fight off Sonic, but he goes all... teleports behind you. Psh, nothing personnel, kid. Unsheaths katana on him until Knuckles just starts crying on the ground. Finally, Sonic just kills Knuckles, and the author is left, for some reason, totally horrified. After seeing what happens to Knuckles, he actually shuts the fucking game off and takes a nap. Probably because nap time just started in his kindergarten class, but he has terrible nightmares of Sonic chasing him and spamming his brawl taunts. Number 9, why is this still going? So he wakes up and decides to finish the game. He picks Robotnik and sets out on his journey. He finds it wacky that he's playing as Robotnik, as if this is the weirdest thing that's happened to him in the story so far. The level starts and everything is black and red and covered in blood because horror! He notes that the music playing is not being played in reverse, which is to say, it's being played normally, okay? Robotnik seems just as confused and bewildered as we are, but our hero pushes him onwards. It's difficult for me to push onwards with this fucking story. As Robotnik goes on, everything turns darker and more red and black. Even the fucking torches on the wall have turned black. How does that even work? And then it fucking happens. Sonic pops up and spooks Robot. And then this happens. Suddenly, Sonic popped up right in front of Robotnik, the same way he did Knuckles, and then red static. The red static lasted for about 15 seconds, and then it showed me a most unpleasant image. The image showed a hyper-realistic of Sonic standing in the darkness where you can only see his face while his head and torso are faded into black. And when I say hyper-realistic, I mean like he looked so real you could actually see the lines in his blue fur, as if you could actually feel the fur if you touched the screen. Does that not strike fear into your very heart? He describes the image in further detail, making it out to be as bad as literally any other edgy teenager's Sonic OC, and then the screen flickers before going back to the image, which now reads, "I am God." And here's how this fucking idiot reacts. "It was when I read that message, while looking at Sonic, when it hit me. I realized, right then and there, this Sonic was a monster. A pure, evil, sadistic, all-powerful, nightmarish, demented monster. And all of his victims, including Tails, Knuckles, Robotnik, and possibly Kyle, are just his little toys. And the game is the very gateway into his chaotic, nightmarish world, and the very hell his victims are trapped in. Then a jump scare happens in literature, as much as I hesitate to call this literature, and the game asks, "Ready for round 2? Tom?" After his computer shuts off by himself, he sees behind him the most terrifying thing you can imagine. Are you ready for this? Are you prepared for the horror punchline of the century? On his bed, staring right at him, is a Sonic plushie. After which Kyle busts into the room and cracks the fuck up at how much Tom just pissed his pants over a game he hacked. No, but seriously, that's how it ends. Like, are you fucking serious? All of that long, repetitive, pointless buildup for a Sonic plushie on the bed. Can you fucking imagine that? Man, what a weird Smokey the Bear game that was. The fire sure looked really hyper-realistic. Damn it! Number 10. Legacy and Influence. So I mentioned earlier that this pasta had a lot of influence on the way that my video game is haunted creepypastas are written. While a lot of stories follow similar story beats to Sonic.exe, there's a much more sinister underbelly to its stretch of influence. There are countless fan-made spin-offs and rip-offs and sequels. You can look up any Sonic character and put .exe at the end of it and probably find a full pasta on it, even if it's just an ironic troll pasta. Sally.exe is pretty much the Jane the Killer to Sonic.exe's Jeff the Killer. It got really popular for just being a girl version of the story that was already made. For a while, I was desperately trying to think, what was it? What made these stories so fucking popular? It couldn't just be a group of Sonic fans who were so autistic that they actually related to our retard main character, or actually felt scared by Sonic. Then I remembered, someone made a fucking game out of this. A game that was played by both Markiplier and PewDiePie. The two videos together have a collective total of about 12 million views. And they were both made back in 2013 when the story was still on the wiki. I have no doubt that this is what helped boost the story to the insane popularity it has now. The game itself is actually surprisingly well made for a scene-by-scene remake of the original Sonic.exe story, down to the fucking Kefka laugh and everything. It honestly makes me feel bad that someone wasted so much of their time on something so shitty. I can't help but wonder if the original game creator knows how shit the story is now, years after the fact. The game itself still isn't scary. It lacks any of the subtlety, dread, horror, tension, but I can't fault the game maker for that, since he made it exactly as the story depicts. It's all the story's fault, really. Everything wrong with the world is this fucking shitty story's fault. Number 11. The author and his reaction to the story's deletion. After years of this being, for some unexplainable reason, one of the most famous video game creepypastas ever, the folks at the Creepypasta Wiki banded together and finally deleted this piece of shit from the wiki. But thankfully there was no Sonic.exe 2015 to replace the old one. It was just fucking gone like it should be. Unlike the authors of other pastas like this, who generally tend to take this sort of thing in stride, or just not speak up at all, the author of this, JC the Hyena, because of course he fucking is, posted this on his Fur Affinity account because of course he fucking has one. I deeply regret to inform you all that I have received some bad news. The admins of the Creepypasta Wiki have finally decided to delete Sonic.exe off of the wiki on the grounds that it was badly written and had too many cliches and was a bad example of what should be a creepypasta. Bull friggin' horse shit. As you can see, I am furious with the fact that my masterpiece, which has won the hearts of millions and has made a massive impact on the internet, is being brought down by a bunch of jealous, arrogant, retarded furry haters. But that does not mean I am just going to sit down and take this lightly. Nope.
No.
They have been messing with the bull, and now they get the giant horns. Listen, everyone, I need your help with this. We are at war here. I want every Sonic.exe fan who is reading this to get the word out. I want you to tell every other Sonic.exe fan out there, every fanatic, every artist, every follower of my creation about this. And tell your friends who are also Sonic.exe fans if they have to. Tell them we have to keep the spirit of Sonic.exe alive. Make more fan art, make more videos, block the haters, praise Sonic.exe like you never have before, build websites dedicated to his greatness and his giant penis. I mean, whatever you gotta do to keep him alive and strong, just do it.
Do it! Just do it!
The deletion of Sonic.exe from the wiki is but a minor cut on our flower of greatness. What the fuck? My friends. And that cut has done nothing but further the spreading, and we are the pollen of his flower. I'm gonna fucking kill myself. That's so stupid. Oh god, I gotta get back into character here. Okay. I'm sorry. We need to prepare for our victory over the haters. The haters need to bleed for their crimes. Rejoice, my fellow Sonic.exe fans. Our glorious little hellspawn shall have the laugh yet. I think you mean last laugh. This will be his ultimate victory. The absolute subjugation of the internet itself. I feel like I don't even have to say words about this. He has absolutely no argument here, except that the people on the wiki are jealous furry haters and that his story is popular. Like, look, I may hate furries, but I am by no means jealous of this story. Seriously, this post is a fucking joke. It's honestly no wonder he deleted it. So with this, we finally have the information that the author is an autistic underage furry, and everything starts falling into place. The story is finally over, and we have closure. Except we don't. 'Cause he made an official fucking sequel. And it's even longer than the first one, and it's even worse. Continued in part 2.